How did it all start for you as a kid? How did you get involved with football?
Well, growing up in Southern California, you know, I was really in tune with the action sports. So growing up, I was riding skateboards and BMX bikes, and a lot of my friends were dirt biking and you know, going to the beach and snowboarding and whatnot. And my dad was really big into sports. He had season tickets at the LA Rams, so you know, he would take me to games and we would talk about, you know, we would get there early and you know, while most people are tailgating outside in the parking lot, we're in the stands kind of watching the theatrics of the pregame, whether it's players coming out early, the cheerleaders, the band, the frisbee dogs, like all this stuff that's kind of going on. And right in front of our seats, which you know, he had to fight and bleed and sweat for the money just to scrape together to have these seats. As a construction worker, were right in front of the long snapper during the game, and so he would come out and do his pregame thing, and I always thought that was really cool of how he could throw such bullets through his legs, you know, looking upside down, and they were perfect spirals every time. And you know, growing up playing these sports, I could throw really well, so I just applied throwing, you know, kind of between my legs. And when it came time to play tackle football when I was a freshman in high school, you know, they were like, you know, hey, who can play quarterback, who can run the ball, who can kick the ball, who can long snap, and I kind of raised my hand, you know, as one of the things I felt I could do, you know, after playing a line and throwing the ball very well, and it caught on, and it helped me get to college and the pros.
So, what preparations did you take to be a long snapper?
Well, you know, being in high school and college, it was just one of the things I did. I played offensive line. I played, you know, some defense in high school and some special teams, and so it was just one of the things I did. So, you know, as far as preparation, it's just the in practice stuff that you would do and work, you know, on the craft. Going into the pros, it turned out to be the only thing I was doing. So my preparation would be much more different. I was working a lot on muscles that really were, you know, muscles that were focused on that movement. So a lot of
Sure.
lat pull downs and forearm and wrist strength and follow throughs, almost like a free throw,
Yeah.
core work. So I was, you know, and playing to the elements, and when it's, you know, a left to right wind at 30 miles an hour, trying to throw it a little bit outside so it comes back into the body, and you know, and a lot of mechanic stuff like, you know, tighter spirals, or you know, on a short snap, getting laces at you know, 12 o'clock we called it, which was straight up and down, so the holder didn't have to, you know, adjust it. So a lot of mechanical things that you would work on in addition to all the muscle memory stuff.
Definitely. So, the recruiting process to college, how did you get seen by colleges, man? Being a long snapper.
Yeah, great question. I mean, I was I was an okay offensive lineman. You know, I wasn't the best on the team, and there was D1 colleges coming around, and they kind of overlooked me, and I started to get a little down on myself, and you know, hanging with the wrong crowds, and you know, walking that fine line of trouble versus not in trouble, and you know, at the college recruits at that time weren't, you know, we weren't a great program, so they weren't showing up all the time, and it was really up to the head coach or the position coach in high school to help promote you and send the tapes out so you can be seen and say, hey, come see these guys. And you know, a couple of my guys got D1 college scholarships, and I got looked over. And so last, you know, towards the end of spring, when it was almost time to make a decision to go to junior college versus college, Sac State came down, and my coach said, hey, he can, you know, he's a good lineman, and he can do these things. They didn't even know I could really long snap, and they gave me a trip, and I went up, and you know, they kind of parade you around a little bit as a recruit, and it's the first time I'd like been on a plane, you know, by myself, and gone up and met these guys and went out on the town. And the next day at spring ball, I was watching the long snapper, and I was kind of like, that's your long snapper? That's how good he is? And you know, he wasn't very good. And they called the coach over, and I threw him like 10 strikes right on the side of the field in my street clothes. And he's like, well, you want a scholarship? You know, so literally I left with a scholarship, and you know, they were the ones who gave me the first opportunity, so I took them. I wasn't going to say, oh, I don't want to go to a D1 AA school, or I want these ones, I'm going to wait. They gave me the first opportunity, and I took it.
I hear you, man. Hey, you gotta shoot for the opportunity, man. So that opportunity and those colleges overlooking you, that put a chip on your shoulder as a professional athlete?
No, I mean, honestly, I was super thankful to get a full ride to college and get my school paid for and meet some of the greatest people in the world, some of my friends and coaches, and it was driving distance from home, so I could drive 5-6 hours and get home. Um, no chip on my shoulder there. It was trying to build something with the guys who I was around, and same very similar thing when I was getting ready to leave college. I thought it was done for me. I didn't think I had a chance to play at another level. I didn't even think that was an opportunity, and I was focused on finishing school, and I was snowboarding a lot during my breaks in classes because we were about 40 minutes from Tahoe, and I got some messages on my answer machine. No cell phones back then. Answer machine saying, "Hey, there's a scout coming tomorrow. You want to bring your football down and throw some long snaps for him?" And the rest is history.
So which teams gave you a tryout, or what recruits?
I mean, they weren't really tryouts. They were just like workouts, almost like like a combine. Like I didn't get invited to a combine or anything. It was just, they come and do a workout. You do some sprints. You do a bench press, do some drills, maybe some offensive line stuff, and then they call it. And then my coach said, "Hey, Lonnie, show them how you can long snap." Okay, well, here you go. And I'd throw a couple bullets, and one of the guys, I think it was the Patriots scout, said, "Hey, do you have an agent?" And I was like, "No, you know how to get one?" So I didn't even know what an agent, how to approach an agent at that time. I didn't even know that was possible. And so my head coach, fortunately, his son was coming out, Billy Volek, who played a long time at quarterback for the Chargers and Titans. We were coming out at the same time. He was coming from Fresno State. So we both got the same agent, but he wasn't a player's agent. He was a real estate agent who could overlook contracts. So he helped us sign our first contracts and got our foot in the door.
That's great to hear, man. So you brought up agents, man. Best moment as a professional athlete with your agent. If you had to pick a moment, like the funniest moment
Well,
with your agent.
I mean, our first Super Bowl in New Orleans, I remember going out to lunch. He wasn't my agent at the time. He was my punter's agent. And we went out to lunch, and he kind of, he pumped some wind in my sails saying, "Hey, you're one of the best in the game. I really think we could, help you get paid. And, we're all family here." And, he kind of gave me that confidence that, wow, there's other options. I don't have to stay with this real estate agent. I can just send him a letter and say, "Hey, we're done," and move on. And so it was as easy as that. And he ended up, helping me sign 2 or 3, of the best deals a long snapper's ever received. So that was one of the best moments, was kind of that first lunch we had and him giving me that confidence that it was possible.
Among the 3 Super Bowl wins with the New England Patriots, man, what was the best moments from those Super Bowls?
All 3 Super Bowls were completely different. The first one was kind of rapid fire. We had 9/11 that year, so there was no bye week. So we went literally from Pittsburgh, landed, grabbed our bags, and we're back on the plane the next morning headed to New Orleans. But that first night on the town is always really good because you got no curfew. You got everyone kind of going out and ripping it up, going to dinner. We went out in New Orleans and we were all in a restaurant, and Chris Berman was there, and I just thought it was one of the coolest things. I was like, "Oh shit, that's Chris Berman." He's like, "What's up?" And he recognized me. He's like, "You're the snow angel guy." Like right in the door, he kind of called me out. I was like, "Yeah." So we got in there and we sent him and his group of ESPN guys a shot of some 151, which is like the strongest booze out there. And we didn't do it, so we ordered ourselves the simple shots, but we sent them the 151s with like a shot of Tabasco in it, and we raised the glass from across the room, and we looked at him like, "Hey, Barman, yeah, cheers, go Patriots!" And he took it, and I had a video camera, and I ran up to him. I was like, "Chris Berman, oh my God, you talk about how'd that feel?" And he's like, "Well, you heard of the fastest 3 minutes in football? Well, that was the hottest." And was just like fuming at the mouth and sweating and stuff. And we just thought that was so hilarious.
I hear you, man. So later on in your career, man, the transition to Denver, was that transition pretty difficult for you going to Mile High, man? Like the
I
climate?
mean, it was difficult because I met my now wife of almost 10 years in Boston. She's from East Taunton, and uh, it was a really tough decision to leave a family like the Patriots and had so much success, and you know, uh, but it was a life decision. I mean, Josh McDaniels gave me a 5-year contract opportunity I couldn't pass up, and Belichick was kind of playing this 1-year deal, continue to do the 1-year minimums, and there was no security. So at that time, I played 9 years for the Patriots and won 3 Super Bowls, been to 4, and it was tough emotionally, but financially and like on a business side, it was kind of the right decision.
I hear you, man. So, among your time as an NFL pro, which player and coach had the most impact on you?
Well, I mean, playing, I came in as a rookie with Tom Brady, and we were literally on the same flight from Minnesota, Minneapolis into Providence, that first rookie camp, and me and him have known each other the longest, and so just seeing his rise and how he handles himself inside and outside of the building. Obviously, the greatness on the outside is what everyone sees, but it's the relationship you have with him and those kind of deep talks, and our families know each other, and so I would say him, but then coming in as a young guy and having these veterans already kind of have this established work ethic, like the Brewskis and Adam Vinatieri's and Ted Johnson's, and after my first year with the Vrabels and Izzos and Rodney Harrisons and these types of guys that they are just some of the best people in the world and the hardest workers, and very selfless in how they prepare. And so those guys left a lasting kind of legacy in my just as an athlete and as a person. And then Brad Seeley as a coach. I mean, he gave me my opportunity with the Patriots, and I was one of 4 long snappers when I got there. And by the 3rd preseason game, I was the last one left. And again, not a ton of confidence that I could beat the other 3 guys out, but I did. And he worked my ass off, but he believed in me, and was, to this day, I can't thank him enough.
Definitely, man. So, let's take one step back. What was your first big purchase as a professional athlete?
um, I probably my house in Southern California. I had, it was amazing to be able to, buy a house that's $500,000 and help just kind of lay the groundwork for me as a kind of my own person, and but I would say that was great, but I liked doing things for my parents, sending them on trips and bringing them out to games, and we all went to Hawaii, first class, so like those types of things. Looking back at it, I wish I would have saved a little bit more money, but it's all a good story these days.
Definitely, man. So, transition to life after football, the trials and tribulations that you learned through it all. How have you applied those things to your personal life?
Yeah, I mean, just working as a team, not satisfied with instant results. Kind of this, take every day as it's its own kind of battle. I always look at, especially working with GoPro, I felt like I was going to get fired every day. That's the same with the Patriots. You walk around thinking that you're only as good as your last play. So I kind of applied that to business, and kind of keep, no matter how much success you have, it's still about the next, the next deal or the next partnership or the next presentation. So I kind of approach it that way, and that's helped me.
Definitely. So, life after football, does any of the injuries still affect you that you accrued over your football?
Yeah, I mean, it's wear and tear. I wasn't a guy who played 60, 70 plays a game and had all the banging in practice, and but what I did was an aggressive movement. I mean, I've probably thrown a million long snaps in my life, you know, and having that recoil on your elbows and your lower back, and you know, having guys, you know, your head between your leg, and guys are just trying to tee off on you. Um, Plus, kind of just the pressure of you know, you only have 10 plays a game. You can't get 9 out of 10 right. You got to do 10 out of 10. So there was a lot of you know, anxiety involved in trying to do it right every time, and really nitpicking you know, yourself on film and in practice and games, um, and then just trying to, you know, compete with some of the best athletes in the world. So definitely my elbows, back, neck, shoulders, you know, everything kind of hurts these days, but I wouldn't trade it.
Definitely. So, what advice would you give a younger player going to the NFL?
My advice would be, you know, try to learn more than your position. You know, learn what the guys around you are doing, learn what the guys across from you are doing, learn special teams. You know, offer up to do things that maybe no one else wants to do, and don't just get caught in your little, I'm only a linebacker, I'm only a tight end. Like, you know, to me, I was an offensive lineman who came from literally the quarterback position, and you know, played basketball my whole life, so it gave me a little bit more kind of hand-eye coordination, agility. I played a lot of baseball. I could pitch, so you know, I learned a long snap. So it's kind of being that Swiss Army knife of things. You know, the more you can do, the more valuable you are. So you know, my advice is just don't get caught in this little, you know, I'm only this. You know, expand your education of you know, the players and positions around you, and see where you can, you know, be a value.